Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. A wise philosopher out of the great state of New Jersey once told me the San Francisco 49ers are the greatest content creators there are. That great philosopher is the man to my right, Jason Aponte. I am Andrew Pasquini. I hope everybody had a great holiday yesterday. This is a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast, and there's a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about today, especially regarding number 19, wide receiver Deebo Samuel. But most importantly, Jason Aponte, how are you doing today on this lovely Thursday evening?
I'm good. That was an amazing way to open the show. And yes, for the people who constantly say, oh, you're clickbaiting, oh, you are trying to draw clicks to your podcast, the team that we cover does a fine job of doing that on their own. And we're just here to reap the benefits. That's a wedding singer reference, by the way.
I can't think of a better clickbait style than just tweeting things and deleting them right away and then getting people all riled up. And that's what not the 49ers, but that's what Deebo Samuel's been doing. It's been there's never a dull day in the world of the San Francisco 49ers. And we have seen that the past couple of days with the Deebo. Is he going? Is he not? Situation. And we're really here. We don't have any answers. And anybody who's telling you they have answers is lying to you, because there is no answers right now. We're just here to have a discussion about it, really, because that's all there can be right now, because there's no absolutes. There's really no information that's really been solidified. I mean, we had Adam Schefter come out and say today that it has something to do with how close he is to home. Deebo Samuel may or may not have posted on his story for approximately 4 seconds.
He did.
He did. It's a wild time, and it's really what we've come to expect, especially in the Sprint Ride Option Podcast era of the San Francisco 49ers. Just a lot to talk about. And who knows, the conspiracy theory I want to run with is the Niners are leaking all this because who's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo anymore, right, guys? Like, nobody's talking about that. But yeah, I mean, I really think that this episode, man, it's Jason and I. We're just gonna, as really, it's not any different than any episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. It's Jason and I talking about what we think is going on and what we believe. None of this is anything that we know, because nobody really knows anything, as I said. So that's really where we are. And I mean, we're going to be here talking, but people are going to be in the comments as well, and their opinions just as valid as ours, because really that's where we're at with this situation. So Jason, I guess where do you want to start with this conversation? Because there's about 15 different starting points we can begin at.
Don't bury the lead. What Deebo Samuel right now is doing is a better service to the 49ers fan base. You know why? Because we have literally not discussed Jimmy Garoppolo in any form or fashion. Today, Jimmy Garoppolo did 4 separate interviews. 4 of them. And none of that has been discussed in any way with any sort of meaningful discourse. So Deebo Samuel is the hero that we didn't know we needed at this point. Realistically, Andrew's absolutely right. Right now, what the 49ers and Deebo Samuel are doing is right now chicken, staring contest. Who blinks first? I have a sneaking feeling that the 49ers will not blink, and they will just dig their heels in. But where we start is yesterday. Or you know what? 2 days before that, actually. 2 days before that. Adam Schefter goes on NFL Live and throws out something about, well, the 49ers have put whatever money it is that he wants on the table. It's him that doesn't want to be here. And so many people react immediately with, well, remember he said it was Mac Jones. Remember the Aaron Rodgers thing. Remember the Tom Brady thing. Adam Schefter's been taking some hits this year. But I never reacted in that way, because that sort of felt like 49ers PR puppeteering that and moving that through Adam Schefter. And sure, Adam Schefter's a little snake bitten because he definitely was on the Mac Jones train for a
Mhm.
long time and then switched up a little bit later on towards the end. And it's Mac or Trey. Cool. I should have done that. I should have said it's Justin Fields. And then 2 days before, it's Justin Fields, Trey, or Mac. I would have been fine, right? Like
Mhm.
that's how you do things, right? You do things like that. So that comes out. Then Deebo's brother comments on the SF Niners. Shout out to Brad Graham, who's a
Shout out Brad
celebrity out
Graham. We
here.
love him.
Yes. He says on there, Deebo wants a trade. And then he goes on his story, hey, I just be saying anything and you're running with it, basically, is what he said. For me, Adam Schefter played PR for the 49ers that day. Deebo's brother leaked it. And then Deebo's team came to him and said, bro, you need to say something to kind of pull that back. But you know what? Can't put the genie back in the bottle. Pandora comes out of the box and he doesn't come back in.
Especially with 49ers Twitter.
100%. So that's day one. Andrew, I'll let you comment on day one, and then we'll go from there with this entire story.
Yeah, and I really want to stress this because I'm going to give my opinions. Jason's going to give his. Nobody's wrong in any of this. I am not a big believer in social media, likes, pictures being removed, meaning anything. And I don't know where Jason stands on that. He might think it means something. I know people on social media thinks that stuff is important, and that's okay. And I always hate saying this because I really feel like a broken box at this point where I'm saying, everything means nothing and nothing means everything until it does mean something. And to me, the social media stuff, what his brother's saying, what everything is going on, it really means nothing until he gets traded, right? If Deebo Samuel is traded, then all that stuff was gigantic red flags. But if Deebo does sign an extension with the San Francisco 49ers, ultimately none of it meant anything, right? It was just negotiation tactics. And so that's the way I'm looking at this. Is I'm choosing to look at it in the way of this is just all tactics trying to get his contract. And other people are looking at it as, hey, he's trying to get out of San Francisco, which could be true as well. The stuff a couple days ago, it's really funny because the stuff with Schefter, right? It's interesting, and this isn't even a 49ers Twitter situation. This is an NFL Twitter thing where when Schefter reports something that people don't want to hear, his credibility comes into question right away, right? And I think that's the case here. I think Schefter, what he said, probably is true because what we've seen the past couple of days has probably solidified that. Is Deebo probably, you notice how I'm using a lot of these qualifiers, probably, might have, all these things. He probably did request a trade, and requesting a trade and demanding a trade, we're arguing semantics at this point, are two wildly different things, right? What?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they're two different things, I would
So
say.
we're talking about this first day, right? And so I guess we're bleeding
You're right.
into
I
day two
apologize.
now.
Yes.
No,
But yeah, what mainly what Schefter was saying is I don't know what he was saying really because I don't know anything at this point, right? And so I'm still at the point where I'm not worried about it. But we did have Javi on Monday, right? And we all kind of agreed that we weren't worried about it. I think we're slightly more worried about it at this point, right? And we'll get into what happened yesterday now. And JK, perfect. Great example. Social media is big for you. One day I'm a Pimp in Oakland, another day I'm a Cowboy from
please,
Arizona.
Andrew, tell me you get the line. Please tell me you get the line.
I definitely do. I recognize it. I don't know where it's from off the top of my head. You're going to tell me, but I'm going to remember.
Grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula. God, it's Wedding Crashers.
That's what it's from. Thank you. I knew that's what it was from.
JKPG continues to drop the fire quotes in here.
So Jason, let's get into the following day now. Right. I'm just kind of talking in circles, which, spoiler alert, probably is going to happen a lot this episode because everybody's talking in circles at this point.
Yeah, so day two. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were passing.
Yeah,
so
you're good.
So again, day one, everybody sits there and they're looking at that and they're all making their assumptions. Everybody's saying, well, he lied about Mac Jones. He's had a rough year with the Aaron Rodgers, the Dwayne Haskins tweet, with the Tom Brady retirement thing. So it's easy to pile on Schefter at this point, right? But now the next day comes and Jeff Darlington reports that he spoke directly to Deebo
Spoke to
Samuel.
him.
Yes, this isn't heard you from a source, anything
Yes.
like that. Okay. Spoke directly to you, and he's requested a trade. And then little by little, it starts to come out that this trade request has been out there for a few weeks now at this point. So it's funny how one day we sit here and we act like we know, like, right? Like we're like, oh, Adam Schefter is doing his thing where he wants to be a personality again, and he wants to be on NFL Live, and he wants to give his thoughts. And that was the 49ers funneling out there before this formal trade request made it to the public. It's funny how things kind of happen. And that feels like PR by the 49ers, one, to soften the blow, two, to also say, hey, we're not the bad guys here. We've actually put the money on the table for him. And that's what makes this beautiful, because we're going to go through it, not with revisionist history, but with the way that we looked at it that one day to the next day to what we found out today. So we're on day 2 at this point. All of that stuff in day 1, we're refuting, and we're sitting there and we're saying, hey, man, Adam Schefter's wrong. You know, he's just speculating. He's just trying to drive clicks. Deebo's brother was trolling. I didn't believe that Deebo's brother was trolling. Let me tell you something.
No.
I've got 2 brothers, one who's very close to me now, right? If my brother says something out loud on social media, he's not speculating, and he's not going to put me in a bad spot where he's going to say something that I haven't already relayed to him. Okay? My brother would never do that. Okay? So his brother did that. We should have right then taken that and ran with it. That's the one that really should have piqued everybody's interest. But now you go to day 2, Jeff Darlington reports the trade is out, and then you find out the trade request has been there for 2 weeks, and Deebo's brother wasn't lying at all. And at that point, it's still not in any way Deebo Samuel is not going to be a part of the 49ers next year. It doesn't feel good. And let's break down the word request. Let's take it down to its literal definition and how requests are received.
Do you want me to go to dictionary.com and read the literal definition?
No, I'm good. If I request something to you, Andrew, or from you, or anyone, there's only 2 ways those requests can be responded to: acceptance or denial. That's it. You are not forced in any way to do anything. It is a request. So that's the part that has still got me a little bit on the side of this will get done, on top of the fact that Deebo Samuel has 0 leverage in this entire discussion. 0.
Yes.
None. Like, I'm talking about 0. I'm not talking about 1%, not 0.001%, 0 leverage at this point. So we're on day 2. The trade request comes out. Everybody's freaking out. At the end of the day, it's a request. The 49ers can take that request and ball it up into a paper and Kobe it right into the garbage. Because you know what? You're under contract. And if you don't want to play, cool. You're only setting yourself back. And we'll get into that. But a request is a request, and now it's a formal request. So now all of those things that happened in day 1, we kind of should have taken more seriously. And I think the point that we've been trying to make over this time is you don't have issues with the way that Deebo Samuel is going through this process. You have issues with the new way that negotiations are going to happen, which is through social media with these younger players, with these agents and things like that. You don't have a problem with Deebo Samuel. You have a problem with the way that now negotiations are going to be in public. You're going to scrub your social media, and you're going to use your social media as a tool to gain whatever leverage you think you can. And that's where we're at in day 2. I'll give it to Andrew from here.
Yeah, and I think a name that's really not being discussed enough here is Tory Dandy, who is the agent of Deebo Samuel, and coincidentally, the agent of A.J. Brown. And by the way, coincidentally, the agent of Terry McLaurin. And by the way, coincidentally, the agent of DK Metcalf. And while Metcalf and McLaurin haven't seemed to get to that point, I know McLaurin, he's sitting out of the optional practices that are going on in Washington. We haven't heard much on the DK Metcalf situation. AJ Brown seems to be taking on the same type of tactics, right? He's scrubbing his social media of all Titan situations. I don't think it's gotten as far as the trade requested thing, but that we could get to that point. I think a lot of this is an agent trying to really force his hand and stepping into the new age type of stuff of what social media is. Because let's talk about it, right? This isn't just a NFL thing. This is a MLB. This is an NBA. This is whatever sport you want to go through, right? The players use social media to negotiate, and as I said, you can take what's going on Deebo Samuel's social media websites as fact or fiction, whatever you want to take it. The way I see it is it's a negotiation tool, right? This stuff. I just don't think the timing of it is coincidence with the draft coming up in a week. I think Deebo knows exactly where the calendar stands. Obviously, he does. He plays in the NFL. If I know the draft is next week, he sure as hell knows it's next week. And he's trying to get the 49ers to force their hand on something. And we've seen this situation play out multiple times. I said it on Monday. We saw it play out where they waited till the last second to get a deal done. George Kittle. And that this is a situation I think right now is the closest situation to that. I think my money is on we're probably going to have to wait a bit longer for anything to be resolved in this situation. I think we get closer to training camp and Penn will get to paper with the 49ers. We saw it where Fred Warner got his contract resolved relatively quickly. I forget the exact month it happened, but it sure as hell wasn't close to training camp in August. It was closer to
and he went to voluntary. He went to voluntary.
And he went to the voluntary minicamp. But then the third situation that we saw, and I really need to stress this because I don't think we're going to see it, is the DeForest Buckner situation. I don't think the Niners wanted to trade DeForest Buckner, but the second the 13th pick was offered, that's when it becomes an intriguing option, right? Because I don't think there is any defensive tackle in the NFL, including DeForest Buckner, not named Aaron Donald, that is worth a top half first round pick. And the Niners happen to get that, right? Off the top of your head, can you think of one? No. And so in my Vita Vea, maybe. But I think if we're realistically looking at these trade offers, right? We had the rumors of the Kansas City Chiefs are interested, which, by the way, I think would be the funniest situation.
It's actually not funny at all. There's nothing funny about it.
Sorry. Let me finish the thought. It'd be a very asshat backwards way to get your first round pick back, sending it to Miami, then it going to Kansas City, and then getting it back that way. I don't think Kansas City is going to happen. I don't think Green Bay is going to happen. I think the most realistic option is the Jets. And if I'm the 49ers, the conversation starts with the fourth pick. That's where the conversation starts. And if the Jets say no, that's where it ends. Because the Niners need to absolutely be blown away by an offer to trade Deebo Samuel at this point, in my opinion. And so, yes, he requested a trade. That's fantastic. That does not mean the 49ers need to trade him. That does not mean the Niners are going to trade him. And this thing, and Jason, I barely saw the tweet. I know you know more about this. What's this CBA situation where if he skips camp, he gets another year of eligibility or something like that? You could say it way more gracefully than I can.
Right. He can't hold out. Because if he does, then he's back in the same spot. This is literally, look, the owners and the players came together when they created the new collective bargaining agreement. And basically, let me give you the cliff notes of it. The owners said, okay, you can smoke weed. You're good. We're done with that.
Happy holiday, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. We're good with that. But you can absolutely not hold out, and there are certain penalties, and you won't get an accrued season, and Deebo Samuel will be a restricted free agent next year, meaning the 49ers can match anyone's offer, so you're right back in the seat. He cannot afford to do that. That is what's not going to happen at this point. Here's the thing. The 49ers absolutely need to be blown away by something for Deebo Samuel. Why would you trade away a player that you control all his rights to, right? Because this is not the same thing for everyone bringing up, well, Robbie Gould requested a trade. Okay, look, we love Robbie Gould on this pod. He's a GOAT. That's a kicker. Put that aside. That does not matter, okay?
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert, when he asked for a trade, he wasn't asking for anything more than to be the highest paid running back on the team. He just wanted what Tevin Coleman was making. He didn't ask for anything crazy. He said, I carried you to a Super Bowl. Can I at least make more money than the guy who you start your drives with, Tevin Coleman? With Deebo Samuel, you are under control, okay? Under player control. Like, you don't have a fifth-year option. There's no fifth-year option because you were in the second round. But you can't hold out. If you hold out, you're right back in the same song and dance. And the 49ers hold 2 franchise tags that they want to do. So, what do you want to do? It's a staring contest at this point. What do you want to do? You want to sit at home, or you want to play ball and you want to get paid? And I think that Deebo Samuel has every right to ask for every single dollar that he feels he's owed. This man is the reason this 49ers team made the NFC Championship. Newsflash. Let's not even get it twisted. I know you guys love the defense. I know we love our certain players. Deebo Samuel is the reason your team was a quarter away from making the Super Bowl. Deebo Samuel. So make every single dollar that you can make at this point. 100%. But the 49ers are notorious for lowballing. And I want to point back to something that I've said many times on this podcast. George Kittle's agent described the first day of negotiations and the first offer as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Okay. You're watching things happen, but the only thing that's different between what's happened in normal negotiations and what's going on with Deebo Samuel is you're watching it play out in real time. And this is what makes this 3-day stretch so much more intriguing than any sort of clickbait or any sort of reading between the lines, okay? Go back to day 1. Everybody just immediately pushed what he said aside, Adam Schefter, okay? Then day 2 comes and you get the formal trade request, and you should have read the tea leaves that way. Deebo Samuel is doing what he thinks is best for him, but I'll tell you this, he has zero leverage, zero. He is trying to force the 49ers into a position where, one, he hopes they make a rash decision and trades him off, and another team will give him his money, a la the New York Jets, a la Houston Texans, a la the Baltimore Ravens. Those are the 3 teams that I think that are the only feasible way that you move it, because I'm not moving Deebo Samuel for anybody out of a top 15 pick. And again, back to your point about being blown away, Tyreek Hill is, 49er fans, brace yourself. Brace yourself.
Okay.
Much more impactful. Okay? Because you know what? He's done it for years and years and years. And before you tell me that, oh, Patrick Mahomes did that, he did it 2 years with Alex Smith. Okay? 2 years with Alex Smith. Okay? They only got an offer of the 35th pick, which is the first pick that they were offered from Miami. 35 and 38. Or that's what the Jets offered. 35 and 38.
Yes. But the Dolphins gave up 30 because that was Niners' pick.
Right. So so you think the Jets are going to come to you and say, we'll give you 4 or 10? And no. Okay? Yep. So Deebo Samuel's strategy right now is to, one, smoke all the offers out. Have every single team swarm the 49ers and send them with all their offers, everything that they can, right? And maybe the 49ers look at an offer that they can't refuse because they need to be blown away. And 2, it's to force the 49ers to maybe make a rash decision. But if I know one thing about this front office, and I don't know anything, is that they're never going to put themselves in a position where they lose out on a player or something that they don't think is valuable at this point. So Deebo Samuel, right now, this formal trade request through Jeff Darlington is an act of desperation. And that is day 2. That's day 2. So let's move to today.
Let's move to today.
At least, you know what? At least I'll say this. We said that we wouldn't do an episode about Deebo Samuel until there was something to talk about. These past 3 days, there are things to actually discuss now. So for the people who are like slam dunking on people like, oh, now it's a problem. Yeah, now it's a problem. Yeah. It wasn't a problem before then. Like, just because you predicted or wanted one of the many things that could happen doesn't make it that you're smart. It just means you fretted for many weeks and now you're in the same boat as all of us. So don't pretend like you're dunking on people. So for right now, these last 3 days have been very valuable in terms of trying to understand exactly what's going on and trying to use what is happening on both sides to have a larger discussion about what's going on at the same time. So I think that's the best I can say.
And I want to dissect one thing too, just really quick. The one that's been my sticking point, and why I think a lot of this is negotiating tactics, is whether or not the report of him wanting to be closer to home is true or not. I can't argue that, because I'm not going to be the one who's going to say Deebo can't feel homesick. He has to be happy in San Francisco, because everybody's homesick at some point, whatever, here or there. I'm not going to argue that point. The one that's really bothered me is the idea that he was unhappy with his role with the 49ers. And the reason I'm saying that, and I'm not going to disagree with him, because I don't know what Deebo Samuel's feeling. To me, that feels like a very simple conversation to have with the 49ers themselves, is him saying, listen, I want to just be a receiver. And to me, that's just a very easy conversation to have. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan, if he really values what Deebo Samuel is, he can say, hey, we'll use you as a gadget player once every so often, because that's how they used him prior to 2021, right? They've used him as occasionally out of the backfield. We saw it on steroids in 2021. To me, that's an easy conversation. It's something that both sides can easily get past. And that's the part that's been sticking with me, that makes this feel like it's a negotiation tactic either way. So that's the point that I've been most confused on. And I don't know if you feel that way. I don't know if you have a different opinion on me, or a differing opinion on that than I do. So I want to hear what you have to think, because it's been sticking with me.
I thought the same thing. I was completely confused. The whole reason that everyone covets you is because of your flexibility in that same, in that same role. Okay. And we also know that the shelf life for somebody who plays like that won't be very much. So you understand why Deebo Samuel wants to make every single dollar. Okay. I usually don't do this, but I spoke to somebody very close to the situation.
Okay.
Someone who has actually spoken to him, who knows him. Okay. And whatever, take this and cut it and whatever. I'm telling you what I was relayed. After the Rams game, the first Rams game, he was
the
on
Monday night
pace.
game?
Yes. He was on pace for 1,800 receiving yards. That is not common. Okay? No. Cooper Kupp had a full extra game to try to beat Calvin Johnson's record and still couldn't. But 1,800, when you're talking about wanting a deal, is different. The person that I spoke to said that it was a little of, yes, you needed Deebo to make explosive plays in the backfield, but yes, it was also to keep him from achieving those numbers, because you can't come to the negotiating table with whatever it is, even though everything that Deebo Samuel did this past year is unprecedented. You know how I know it's unprecedented? Because nobody's ever done it.
Literally, nobody's ever done it.
Nobody's ever done it. But this person that I spoke to, don't ask me for sources and don't act like that or whatever. And this is the first time I've ever done that. But I did some digging today, and I've actually correlated with 2 out of 3 people. That's the point of being whatever it is that we are, is you don't just take one person's number and just run with it and just say this is what it is. A little bit of it is Kyle knows he needed more explosive plays, but Kyle also knew the front office's intentions, and if you keep him away from that certain number as a wide receiver, then they were arrogant enough to feel like they could come to the table and give you whatever offer they deemed which was correct, and it wasn't. So, do I blame Deebo? Absolutely not. But from what I've heard from many people close to the team, it's been that scenario. And that's all I'll say about that. Is a lot of this has to do with he's not upset about the wide back role. That's not it. That's not it at all. What it is, more than anything, is the 49ers came to the table with a straight wide receiver number. And that's when you fast forward to today, because we found out today from Tony Pauline and other sources that the 49ers showed up with a $19 million offer. Deebo wants 25 and up. This is what negotiating is. You meet in the middle. But this was the 49ers game. You have a certain amount of numbers, sure, it's unprecedented, but when you look at what you are positionally as a wide receiver, your numbers don't correlate to Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, right? So this is all I'm telling you. I'm not telling you that this is exactly what's going on. This is something that I've heard. This is what's going on in terms of that. And what I thought was I was just as confused as Andrew. All this positionless football is invaluable because it's made you become coveted. But at the same time, you cannot come to the table and offer Deebo Samuel straight wide receiver money when you ask him to do so much more.
Yes.
So I believe Deebo Samuel and his team came to the table thinking that they would be set at a wide receiver number and then a little bit more because of what Deebo Samuel brought to this team. And that's all I'll say about that.
And one of the and to your point too, one of the best tweets I've seen about this situation is from Grant Cohn. He tweeted yesterday, I'm guessing Deebo Samuel is okay playing running back as long as the 49ers don't use it against him and try to pay him like one. And I think that's the best way I've seen anybody really word it because, yeah, man, listen, Jason, you and I really ran the offensive weapon thing into the ground. And the Niners should and in Deebo's opinion, he deserves the money of that because, and I said this not to brag or anything. I was on the Oh Hey There podcast with Javi on Monday night. Not to brag or anything, but to your point of what Deebo Samuel did for the Niners this season, right? How many times can you pinpoint one specific play, not one game, not one quarter, not one drive, one specific play? And say that is the play that turned the season around. You can do that with Deebo Samuel in Chicago.
Where were you when Deebo saved the season in Chicago?
And that's my point, right? Because let's use an example way back when. The play that turned around, or quote unquote turned around, I'll say established Jim Harbaugh's first year with the 49ers was the Eagles game, right? That whole game established who they were. But that's a whole game. The Niners season was turned around on one play. And it wasn't a Jimmy Garoppolo throw to Deebo, and Deebo was the guy who happened to make the catch. It was a Garoppolo throw, but it was a screen pass, and Deebo made the play. And that is the play that turned the Niners season around. That is when everything started to trend up. So to me, like yes, you're absolutely right. Deebo, you can't, I don't think he's asking for insanely a ton. And when we talk about the $25 million a year, I still think people look at that and look at it as a baseball contract, right? And say, oh, he's asking for 5 years, 125 guaranteed.
Thank you.
No, that's not what that is. Yeah,
it's window dressing at the most part.
It might come down. It might be a 5 year 125, and that average value is 125 million, or that average value is 25 million. Where realistically, and I'm just going to throw numbers out here. This isn't what I think. I'm just throwing numbers out. 70 million guaranteed. The cap hit not super high next year. There's things like that. So yeah, the contract might come out to an average value of 25 a year, but that's not what it's actually going to be because the guaranteed will be significantly less than that and all these things. So yes, Deebo deserves his money. Deebo deserves his money. The one thing where I'm a little lost on, and I'm gonna lean a little on the Niners side, and I don't like to do that too often because I like to think that people know by now, Jason, you and I are very player getting their money. Yeah. Is the Niners coming out and saying, okay, $19 million a year. Let's assume that report's correct because I know Damon Bruce on 95.7 The Game today said the Niners haven't made an offer. He says he has a source telling him that. So once again, who are we going to believe? I don't know, but let's play the $19 million game, right? It's weird to me that he took that offer and just instantly said, I want out. And that's why I think that this is just really hard negotiating tactics. It's not because his number's out there. He said that already. The Niners came with their 19. So I really do believe that all this is a negotiation tactic. Now, if you would have asked me on Monday when we were on the podcast with Javi, a percent chance of what I thought the Niners would be extending Deebo and versus trading, I'd probably say 90% chance they extend him, 10% trade him. Admittedly, today, I'm probably 60% extend, 40% trade. and just because of how things have kind of played out. But I really do believe that this is something that, and I know your Niner fans probably aren't excited to hear it because we've done it with Jimmy Garoppolo. This is likely something that's going to drag out until August, and my guess is, as of right now, that they'll come to an agreement before the season starts. That's my guess, because the Niners, unless, as I said, unless the Jets say here's 4 and here's a third and here's a fifth and whatever you want, I do not think the Niners have any reason to trade him. Any reason to trade him at all right now, unless they get blown away. And the Niners know that, and Deebo knows that, and Deebo's agent knows that, and everybody knows that. And I think that's why we're seeing these hard ball negotiations. And Jason here says 20% extend, 80% trade. You're not wrong, because this is how you're reading that situation. Nobody's wrong in this situation because nobody knows what's going on. So that's where I'm at with it all. And it's not fun for 49er fans, but I'll be the optimistic guy and say I'm still pretty confident that the Niners get this done.
Yeah, and I had an 80-20. Now I got a 50-50 at this point. Now it's a 50-50 chance now that all this is happening. But for me, right now, what Deebo and them are doing, and this is what you're talking about as far as hardball, is they're hoping that a team comes out and blows the Niners away. They're hoping that the Jets panic, push the button, and hit 4-10. I'll tell you this. I don't want to trade Deebo Samuel, but the New York Jets said 4, 10, and 38 in this year's draft alone.
In a heartbeat.
Done, and done. You know what that means for the 49ers? That means Sauce Gardner. That means Garrett Wilson. And that means your best edge rusher, Arnold Ebukadi. Look, man, a lot of talk has been about players, assets, don't get attached. If a team blows you away, if the Jets and wake up one day and realize that they're the Jets and they've done crazier things, or Seattle sent all those picks for Jamal Adams, teams have done dumb things, 100%. 4, 10, and 38, I don't even hesitate.
Yeah.
After you say 4, 10, and then you throw in 38, Deebo's on the next train to MetLife. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
And I think and I don't want to generalize here, and Smack Jones, thank you for the donation. I'm so sick right now, fellas. I probably won't relax until this is settled. We was thinking Jimmy was the only thing going, not Deebo. Right. Well, hey, Smack, listen, I hope you relax, because this might drag on.
I want to help you relax.
So I hope you relax a little bit. Even too, man, I saw a Vikings beat writer, or Vikings somebody, I don't know if it's a beat writer, say Deebo and a fourth to the Vikings for Dalvin Cook and 12. I think that's the Vikings pick. No, you wouldn't do that. Oh, I would do it. But I'm a Florida State fan. You know how much I love my Florida State fan.
No, I'm not trading for no running back. What are you talking about?
Okay, that's
fair. We don't get Alexander Madison in the deal for him to back him up. No.
But yeah, exactly to your point, man. If the conversation's 4 and 10, then yeah, in a heartbeat. And I don't want to generalize with Niner fans, because
let me say this. I'm sorry, Andrew. Let me say this, because everybody's in the comment. Nobody would ever do that. That's the point. If you're the 49ers, you need to wait for the unthinkable deal like that. In other words, there's no deal that anybody can offer me. I am not trading Deebo Samuel for a late first, early second. For what? So I can get Christian Watson and hope he's good? I know 49er fans love him, but I'm not as big on him. I would never sit there and wait for another receiver who I thought. If you're going to trade and you want to trade for Deebo Samuel, this is the cutoff. The Baltimore Ravens at 14. That's your cutoff. That's it. After that, I don't want to hear it. I don't want pick 35. I don't want pick 38. I don't want next year's first. I don't want any of that for Deebo Samuel. If you want Deebo Samuel, come correct. Send 410 and send 38, or send 10 and 38 and talk to us. And then, but at that point, that's when you get blown away. And that's exactly my point. The 49ers need to be blown away by a deal. And if someone stupid enough, like the Jets, says, we'll give you 10 and we'll give you 38, how could you say no? How could you say no at that point? That's my point, is you need to be blown away. That's why I gave that example of 4, 10, 38. That's it, man. It's not any. I don't want a late first For what? So we could draft Drake London and hope that he gets faster at the top of his routes? So we could draft Christian Watson and hope that he's way more mature than he is and he's not as raw as he was? Like, you guys are wishing on a star with these end of the first round guys. There are 3 guys at wide receiver that I know for a fact that are going to dominate. Their names, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson. You need a top 10 to top 14 pick to even be in that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not anywhere that I want to be outside of Deebo Samuel. Like, if Deebo Samuel is going to be moved, it needs to be for one of those 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I know 49er fans love Christian Watson. I know it. Christian Watson is never going to approach the heights of Deebo Samuel and other receivers. Guys, I don't want to be the rain on the parade, but after watching him, I am struggling to figure out what it is that you guys love outside of the obvious things like he's fast, he's strong, he can jump. Like, I really don't get it. Like, have you guys watched actual football for you to say that Christian Watson is the automatic pick over Deebo Samuel? It doesn't make sense to me. You are more focused on the idea that Christian Watson and Trey Lance played, and you think that it's going to be Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And I have a rude awakening for many of you. That is not what's on the table when it comes to Christian Watson at all. If you're able to land Christian Watson where you're at, cool.
Yeah.
But stop telling me that he's this all of a sudden massive pick that you need to make. Stop it. Stop.
I got so tired of the Christian Watson side. And nothing against Christian Watson, but I tend to believe that, and thank you for the donation, David. I tend to believe that the Burrow and Jamar Chase thing worked, not because they both went to LSU, but because they're both just really good football players. I don't think just because Christian Watson and Trey Lance went to the same college, you're going to get that same magic. I just think both of them are just really coincidentally good football players. Like, if Jamar Chase went to Alabama, are you trying to tell me he's not going to be the same player in the NFL type of thing? So that's where I'm at on that. And especially to Jason's point, we're going to wrap up here in a minute. We're almost at 45 minutes. Conversation's going great, but we got to wrap up here. Apologize, guys. Yeah, he throws out 410, and people are saying, oh, that's unrealistic. You know what I thought was unrealistic? Ever talking about 2 first-round picks for a box safety. And that's what the Seahawks did.
And look, Miami went to trade for Tyreek Hill. And the Jets didn't even offer 410 for Tyreek Hill. Think about that. Think about that, guys. Take your 49er fan hat off.
Yes.
Take it off.
Yes.
Take it off.
And that's the point I wanted to make is I'm not trying to malign Niner fans here, but they get so attached to their players, and that's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that, where they tend to overblow the value a little bit, which once again, nothing wrong with it. That's what fandom is. Where realistically, man, it's a business, and the Niners need to make the best business decision. And if the best offer you're getting is what the Chiefs gave up, or excuse me, what the Chiefs got for Tyreek Hill, the best business decision is to say no and keep Deebo Samuel. But if you're getting 2 top 10 picks, the best business decision is probably the 2 top 10 picks. And that's just kind of what it is.
And I hate the crapshoot of the draft. Before
I hate it too.
Before 10, there are cornerstone players at 4 and 10 right here.
Yes.
And then remember, you reset your whole cornerstone option, right? You get Sauce at 4. You get Garrett Wilson at 10, and those guys are under contract for 4 years with the 5th-year option. But let's take these donations real quick. David,
yes, thank you.
Appreciate you, bro, for the donation, man. I just watched Matt Mayoko on his podcast lie through his teeth for 45 minutes and say he has no idea why Samuel would be requesting a trade. He said it's obviously not money because nobody would pay $25 million for a half a running back. If Matt actually said that about a half a running back, that's very disrespectful to the player that Deebo Samuel is. And no disrespect to Matt Mayoko, who is somebody that I absolutely respect.
We love him.
I absolutely have had a chance to speak with. He is a great guy, and he is the OG of this. And it would be wrong of me to dismiss him. But if that's his opinion, then I would tell him I disagree in that way. I disagree. You cannot talk about Deebo Samuel being half a running back when Kyle Shanahan identified him and took him before an A.J. Brown, who is a prototypical wide receiver, and whatever that narrative is that's out there, I would say this. I respect Matt Mayoko very much. I look up to him. I respect him and I respect his work. I respect the time he's put in, but I wholeheartedly disagree with that assessment if that's what he said.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But David, thank you for the donation. Paul, I've seen speculation Deebo might not want to play with a project quarterback like Lance while he's just entering his prime. Do you think that's a possibility?
No.
I don't think it is. No. But as I said, everything at this point is hearsay. It could be true, it could not. I don't think it is. I don't think Jason does. Because I mean, Deebo literally caught the best throw of the 49ers season. He knows what it's like, right? He knows what Trey Lance can bring to this offense. So we'll see ultimately what happens. We're gonna wrap up now. We hit about 45 minutes. We don't want to ramble too long. Not sure if we'll be on tomorrow. If we're not, we probably won't be back on until after the draft because Jason Aponte will be in Vegas doing all the draft stuff, having a great time. So we will not be back until after the draft unless I'll throw this caveat, Jason, unless Deebo trade.
Isn't it tomorrow? Jordan and
Brad,
okay.
we're gonna confirm that today. We're gonna try and confirm that, make sure it's happening. I don't want to promise things that we can't promise. But if that happens, we're trying to get Jordan and Brad on for another draft. Another draft conversation. Just choked on my spit there. That's hot. Another draft conversation with Jordan and Brad. We had fun with that last year. But if that does not happen, we probably won't see you until after the draft, unless Deebo gets traded. Then we'll probably have to talk about that.
And I think we're gonna have a discussion on Monday after John Lynch speaks.
Yes.
So Monday is when John Lynch speaks. Kyle Shanahan is not ready to speak, and he's not supposed to speak. But that's not what happened after the trade to 3. So who knows? Kyle Shanahan might pull up. So look, here's the schedule basically for what I'm doing. Monday, yes. I'll be flying out, and I'm getting out there closer. We're going to have a discussion about what John Lynch had to say because there's no way that we can't do that. Wednesday is media availability before the draft, and I will be in Vegas for that. And I'm going to make sure that I get in there and I try to listen and ear hustle as much as I can so we can get some more discussion out there. Thursday's the draft. But if Deebo Samuel's not moved on Thursday after the 15th pick, he's not getting moved.
Yes.
He's not getting moved. You don't trade Deebo Samuel for an early second rounder, and you don't trade Deebo Samuel for next year's first rounder. So here's the good news, 49ers fans. While this negotiation will go in closer to camp, the trade stuff will be done by Thursday, one way or another, because the 49ers will not trade Deebo Samuel for a early second rounder or next year's first rounder, because that's when I'll get on here. And if you want to see Spicy Aponte, you want to see somebody yell, I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna yell and I'm gonna bash everybody, because that is just straight up bad business. Bad business. That is bad business 101.
Yeah, wonderful. Hey, Jason, it was fun today. This was a fun podcast. I love these types of podcasts where we could just kind of have fun and speculate. Go follow Jason on Twitter if you haven't, at Jason Aponte 2103. Follow me on Twitter at Pasquini Andrew. Subscribe to Jason Aponte's YouTube channel if you're here. If you haven't already, go subscribe to the Sprint Right Option podcast on Spotify, Apple. Like this video. Do whatever you want to do.
Join the Spicy Squad.
Join the Spicy Squad. We love each and every one of you equally. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Relax, guys. We got a lot of time. Got a lot of time before the season starts.
We got a lot of time before September. By the way, May 12th schedule coming out. We'll have a podcast that day as well.
100%. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.